Merry Meet Annie here. This is a video response to Sophia, to TalitaBorealis. I love saying that username, TalitaBorealis. I love that one. It just rolls off the tongue. Her question to us was, and it's been a while back, I'm so tardy, what signs from before we acknowledge the path we are on can we look back and see as signs? It's very fascinating to look back over our lives and see now the moments that when they were happening, we didn't know what they were. We didn't understand the power of them. In hindsight, we saw our life could have changed in a small way or a huge way, but we look back and we see those things. Jean Shinoda Bolen used the power of those moments in her Goddesses and Every Woman book, and she called it the chalice moment. And she's referring to when Percival is in the Great Hall, and the chalice is actually carried by him. But there's so much going on. There's so many things that are being carried by him that the chalice, being carried through the Great Hall by a beautiful, beautiful woman, goes by without him noticing. That moment, that thing he could have grabbed onto, the life changer, was there. And he did not, because he was unaware. A lot of our lives are that way. They get so busy that things just go by us. They go by too quickly. Time goes by us. We're busy paying attention to something else. Or we're just not open at that point in our life. Now, when I do a looking back over my spiritual timeline, in a way, it is the question that TalitaBorealis, our Sophia, was referring us to, which is, when we look back, do we see signs? I see signs pretty early as a child with my relationship with animals, which always felt like it was, at the time as a child, I could only think of it as they were my brother or my sister. The animals that were in our household felt like they were kin to me. Now, most children, of course, have that kind of a feeling. But when I look back on the depth of that feeling, what I learned from the animals in the house, their energy, their wisdom, I realized that they were teachers of mine. Not just pets in the house. But I looked upon them. I was a very solitary child, very shy, very backward, pathologically so, very afraid of people. And animals were my teachers. Trees were my teachers. As a young child, I loved the willow tree in our backyard. When I was in its branches, I knew I was inside it felt like grandmother or grandfather to me. I felt an older person with their arms around me, and I received great guidance there. I never told anybody that. And the relationship with the pets in the house was something that one could say, oh, they're a brother or sister, and people would laugh. But I never shared the fact that the trees taught me things, that I heard things in the rustling of their leaves. And with the willow, I saw things in the pattern of the way those wonderful, wonderful sinewy willow limbs just moved. I saw the patterns and learned things. That was very young, those things. I spent a lot of time as a young child outdoors with my father and my grandfather, and the power of things like storms, snow, really all the extremes of weather were things that invigorated me, made me feel personally powerful. Couldn't have explained it as a young person. Why did I feel powerful in the face of those things? I should have felt overwhelmed by them. I didn't. They came up in me and through me, and I was part of them. And I look back on that now and realize that I felt the weather inside out. Definitely an early sign that I would be called to a relationship with the elements in my adult life. I also have to think that as I was older and exploring a couple different religions, that I found things within each religion that started feeling similar to me. I found a commonality. I can't put a finger on that now because I don't have the mind I had when I was experiencing that. But what came to me in the experience of that was that we've always, and by we I mean humanity, been connected to something that was greater than ourselves, and some sense of the ancientness of that connection, if not the specific religion I was studying. I also remember very specifically as a teenager, I had some experience of the Catholic Church. And Mary reached out and grabbed me in my experiences with that church. And then I began seeing as I was learning. I didn't have a ruler to compare too much to from one religion to the other yet. I was still exploring, and I started seeing Mary in other religions. And over time, of course, I came to understand that it was the archetype of the great goddess that I was seeing over and over again, that I was feeling, I know this. This is ancient. This is something that my woman roots connect to. It is something that my communal roots, who I am in society, connects to. I would also have to say that music was a very big part of acknowledging, when I look back on it, how we could be moved out of ourselves, trance and feel of this world and not of this world at the same time. Very, very important part of who I became spiritually was the ability to move between this world and the other. It was already there for me, not in a formal sense, but in where music could take me. And the moment that I can acknowledge to this day, I think I hadn't left home yet, so I had to be 17, couldn't have been older than 17, standing in the yard of the house on a beautiful, beautiful, clear, clear night, when you could reach out and touch the stars. And when I look back on this, I realize it was probably the most defining moment of who I would become spiritually. For a moment I felt lost amongst the stars, like I had no identity, that I didn't matter. It was so huge and so vast, and I just felt overwhelmed by the magnificence of it. And then something rose up from inside me. I swear it came from the ground beneath me and rose up through me, because I still remember exactly how it felt. And it was that amongst all of this inconceivable hugeness, this beauty that's beyond comprehension, I'm the only me. I'm the only energy that is in this form. I'm the only entity that is me. So I was acknowledging in a very powerful opening up, exploring of my own power way, that amongst the vastness of creation, and at the same time, I was almost a nothingness among the hugeness, but balanced at the exact same understanding. The moment that clicks, it's huge, and what am I is I am the only me. I'm unique. And that is a moment in which my personal power, my understanding of who I was and who I was in relationship to, came to the forefront. You know, the pagan spirituality that I took on early in life, because within a year I was in my first circle, was all about understanding yourself, and understanding yourself in relationship to others, to community, to nature, to the wider world, to the universe, to deity. It was a matter of understanding relationships. And that night, under that canopy of stars, at the same time feeling lost amongst, and also feeling powerfully complete and unique within. Yes, when I look back, when I think of the signs that were what I would become later, spiritually mature in my womanhood, there's a small collection of the many, many things that show up on my spiritual timeline, some of which, when they happened, like that moment under the stars, I knew it was immense. Some things, I look back on them and I realize just how immense they were. They were grail moments. The chalice went by me, I didn't see it, and every now and then, when we're lucky, in hindsight, we very, very vividly see the chalice as it was presented to us in some moment in our life. I wish you those moments of celebration and mirth and reverence. Mary Part,